In Houston, a young officer who was the department's first Sikh to be able to serve his community was ambushed, shot in the back of the head, and killed. Here in the New York City area, an NYPD officer was shot dead, reportedly with his own gun, as he was fighting. The officer, Brian Mulkeen, was fighting with an ex-con. They were grappling on the ground in the Bronx. I've got a heartbreaking video, and I'm going to play it. It's going to break your heart. But a video was made of 3 officers in their unmarked patrol car in the last hour of Brian Mulkeen's life. And I'm going to play it before we bring Joey Hudson, who's the executive director of our Fallen Officer Fund, into the conversation. I play it not to break your heart, but to remind you that these are real life, living, breathing loved ones who are capable of humor and love and everything that goes with being a human being in the world today. There was a video made by one of the officers as they were kind of lustily singing a chorus from one of John Denver's big hits. And little did they know that this was the last hour of Brian Mulkeen's life. He's in the passenger side. He's in the front seat on the passenger side. If you're by a computer or your smartphone, you may want to watch this. Not to make you cry, not to break your heart, but to remind you that this is somebody's son, this is somebody's brother, this is somebody's loved one. This 33-year-old officer who's just merrily singing along as these cops have to deal with the unthinkable. Little did they know that within minutes of this video being taken, they would encounter a 6-foot, 270-pound suspect who was a con, a felon. He was wanted on all kinds of warrants, and the details are terrible. Antonio Levance Williams was on probation for a narcotics-related arrest. I'm going to tell you a little story about this young officer after we play this video, but I wanted to give you time to go onto the stream to see this. Again, it's heartbreaking. Brian is in the front seat on the passenger side. This video was taken literally during the last hour of this young officer's life. It's just heartbreaking. This young officer had almost completed 7 years on the force. He just bought a house in May with his girlfriend, who is also a police officer. She's with the 44th Precinct in the Bronx. He worked in the 48th Precinct before joining the borough-wide plainclothes Bronx Anti-Crime Unit, according to the New York Daily News. He made 265 arrests in his career, 155 of them for felonies. He earned 5 NYPD medals. He stood out as a recruit among peers as a leader, said NYPD Captain Kevin Coleman. The other recruits, they were inspired by him. I want to bring Joey Hudson into our conversation today. Joey is on Skype and joins us on our guest line. He's the director of our foundation, the Mike Gallagher Show Charitable Foundation, which is called Gallagher's Heroes, the Fallen Officer Fund, because law enforcement, in our view, these are men and women who are heroic. They are noble, they're brave, and Joey, that video it just tears your heart out to see this young man seemingly without a care in the world in the unmarked patrol car moments before he would wind up being killed.
And I'm so glad, Mike, that you shared that, because it reminds us of how quickly life can change. And that's what these men and women in law enforcement, that's what they experience daily. Both of these young officers, they got up and what was a typically normal day, put their uniform on, went out to serve their community, and never came back home again. And that's what we keep stressing with Gallagher's Heroes. We have to support these law enforcement families because they never know what's going to happen. Both of these instances, I mean, they were neither one of these should have happened. A routine traffic stop in Houston, Texas. These officers in New York, which by the way, he was the 10th New York State officer killed in the line of duty this week, and the deputy in Houston was the 11th in Texas killed in the line of duty this year.
This year, so 10 officers in New York killed, 11 in Texas. This is happening at an alarming rate. And frankly, Joey, I don't want to politicize anything. I don't think it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. We should support law enforcement. We should defend them. These men and women go into unthinkable situations that none of us would ever put ourselves in. Yeah. They go to the scene. They go into danger. They go to the gunfire. They go to the burning buildings. Our first responders, they're everything. They're the foundation of our society. And yet, Joey, sadly, we see a lot of people continue to vilify and demonize police.
That's right. That's right. And this deputy down in the Houston area, Deputy Dollywall, leaves behind a wife, 2 daughters, a son. This young man in New York, as you mentioned, just purchased a house there in New York, and I'm glad you shared that video because it shows how happy he was. He enjoyed what he did. Both of these officers did. Deputy Dollywall down in Houston was known. He had a heart for kids who were struggling in school, who were at risk of dropping out of school. He was known in the community as someone who always helped the community. He helped the hurricane victims in the area, and just two great individuals whose lives ended way too soon.
No question about it. I hope everyone goes to Gallagher'sHeroes.org to see ways that you can help the families of these fallen officers. It's our mission, and Joey, we write too many checks. We shouldn't. I'd love to be out of business, but sadly, we're not going to be. And I'm grateful to the support of our listeners and Team Gallagher and for their efforts. And Joey, thanks to your efforts, you do a magnificent job as the director of our foundation. And I know I share the pride that you and I both have in working these last few years to help these fallen officer families. So thank you, Joey, and I appreciate you popping online with us and on the show to talk about the deaths of these two officers. I appreciate it, Joey.
Mike.
Keep fighting the good fight.
You.
Joey Hudson joining us from South Carolina, of course, host of his own show in the mornings on The Morning Answer on 94.5 WGTK, The Answer, and just a great guy and a dear friend, and we're both heartbroken. We're just disgusted by